Okay. So today we're going to dive into something pretty heavy. This is a case out of Japan from 2017. It's called the Zama 9 murders incident. And,
Wow.
this might be new to some of you listening, especially those of you in high school, maybe
Yeah.
learning about Japan for the first time. And we're going to break down the whole thing, what happened, why it matters, and all that without,
Yeah.
overwhelming you with a ton of little details.
Yeah, we want to make it clear too, right?
Exactly.
And so we're using the Wikipedia entry on this case.
Yeah.
It lays everything out really well.
Yeah.
The timeline, the legal stuff, the impact it had,
Yeah, it's a good map.
It's a good map.
Yeah, so we're going to unpack this whole thing in a way that's clear and, especially if you're not super familiar with Japan or cases like this, it does involve violence and some pretty heavy stuff.
Yes.
So we're going to be respectful and, really focus on the key things that happen and what they tell us about bigger issues.
Absolutely.
So let's start with how this all came to light, right? The discovery.
Okay, so October 2017, Zama City, which is in Kanagawa Prefecture, that's close to Tokyo.
Okay.
Police find 9 bodies
9 bodies.
in an apartment.
Wow.
It's a lot to take in, right? And most of the victims were young women, but there was one young man too.
9 bodies in one apartment.
I know, it's hard to believe.
It's almost unbelievable.
Yeah.
How did the police even find out about this? What got them started on this investigation?
So it all starts with a missing persons report. A 23-year-old woman disappears from Hakioji, a district in Tokyo last seen by colleagues on October 21st. Reports filed a few days later on the 24th. So investigators start looking at security footage, right? Standard procedure.
Right.
And they find footage of her with a man at a couple different train stations.
Okay, so they had a lead, right?
Yeah.
Like a starting point.
They did.
But how did they go
That's a
from
good question.
train stations to that apartment in Zama City?
Okay, so this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Another woman had been contacted online by the same man.
Oh, wow.
And she realizes what's going on, right?
Yeah.
And she does something incredible. She starts cooperating with the police,
Wow.
acts as a decoy,
Wow.
sets up a meeting with him at JR Machida Station, another train station in the area. And when he shows up,
Wow.
the police are there, and they tail him back to his apartment.
That is pretty clever.
So smart, so brave,
yeah, quick thinking.
yeah, big ups to her and the police, right?
Huge.
So they get to this apartment.
Yeah.
What did they find inside? It's got to be just a horrible scene.
It's awful.
Yeah.
It's really bad. So there are multiple cooler boxes, storage containers,
Okay.
and inside them, the dismembered remains of all 9 victims.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, they found 9 heads, around 240 bones.
Wow.
It's a lot. And to make things even worse, the perpetrator had used cat litter in the boxes, probably to mask the smell.
It's just so gross, chilling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
Yeah. Okay, so they've made this awful discovery, right? So now they have to figure out who did this?
Yeah, who's responsible for this?
Right, who is this person?
Okay, so the source refers to him as S,
Okay.
not using his full name. And he was 27 at the time.
27 years old?
Yeah.
Do we know anything about his life?
We do.
Before this? Anything that might help us understand,
A little bit.
even if it's, terrible, why this might have happened?
So we know he had a prior arrest for violating the Employment Security Act.
Okay.
And this was related to introducing women to adult entertainment businesses. When asked about his motive, why he did all this, he said he wanted an easy life. Basically wanted to rely on women for money.
Oh, wow.
And he thought that people who talked about, ending their lives were easier to manipulate.
That's a really disturbing thing to admit.
Yeah, very calculated.
Yeah, he was specifically going after
Machines that
people who were vulnerable. How did he even connect with these people? How did this start?
Twitter. He used Twitter to search for and contact women who were expressing suicidal thoughts.
So he's actively looking for them?
It seems that way.
Wow.
And he had multiple accounts, even one called Hanging Master, where he offered advice on suicide methods. It's heavy stuff. He would tell victims not to reach out to family or friends before they, quote unquote, died,
Oh my God.
It was all about isolating them, gaining control.
It's just preying on their most
Yeah.
deepest fears and vulnerabilities and cutting them off from...
Taking advantage of a very delicate situation.
Yeah, from everyone.
Yeah.
When did all of this happen? This horrible series of events, when...
The murders took place over a couple of months.
Okay.
Between August 22nd and October 30th, 2017.
Okay.
And the way he killed them was strangulation with a rope hung from the loft in his apartment. And he often drugged them first with sleeping pills and alcohol, probably to make them easier to control.
Wow. So we know he was targeting women mainly, financial gain, sexual assault. But you mentioned there was also a male victim.
Right.
What happened there?
Yeah, so that was the boyfriend of his first victim.
Oh, wow.
He couldn't reach her, got worried, and went looking for her.
Oh, my God.
And S killed him to prevent his crimes from being discovered.
Jeez. It's just awful. Like,
It is,
one thing leads to another.
yeah, cover up.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
sounds like he really planned all of this out, though, right?
It does seem that way.
This wasn't just something he did on the spur of the moment.
No, he bought tools like saws before even moving into the apartment.
Wow.
Did online research about dismemberment. He even dismembered the bodies in his bathroom, and then he'd get rid of the parts in different dumpsters away from his building.
Wow.
But he kept the heads. He planned to bury them later.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Did he ever say anything about the victims themselves?
He did?
Like,
did he understand at all what he had done?
There's a quote that really gives you chills. He said, "No one was really thinking of dying."
Ugh.
And get this, the last victim, she actually fought back.
Oh, wow.
When he tried to strangle her so clearly, his perception was way off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That just really shows you how predatory
Yeah.
and violent this whole thing was,
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, let's talk about the victims.
Yeah.
What do we know about these young people?
So they were mostly young women, as we
Right.
said, between 15 and 26 years old.
Wow.
And they came from all over Japan, Tokyo, Kanagawa, Saitama, Fukushima, Gunma.
Jeez.
All different walks of life. And the one male victim was 20.
So young.
Yeah, it's really sad.
Yeah.
A lot of potential just gone.
Is there any, order to the killings? Do you know?
Yeah, the first victim was a woman in her 20s from Kanagawa. And then her boyfriend after that, if you look at it by month, he killed one person in August, 4 in September,
Jeez.
and 4 more in October before he was caught.
And our source gives us some more details about that first victim, right?
Yeah.
The woman from Kanagawa.
Yeah, she actually went with him to look at the apartment before he even signed the lease.
Wow.
And she even transferred him money, like over 500,000 yen.
Oh, my God.
For the deposit. Last contact was August 22nd. That's the day he moved in.
Wow.
And her phone was found a few days later near Enoshima, which is pretty far from Zama.
Jeez, he totally manipulated her.
Yeah, he really gained her trust.
Yeah, and then there's that part about the first 2 victims being kept in the refrigerator, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's just...
That's what he said. He said he kept them in the fridge because it took him longer to dismember them at first.
It's just beyond comprehension.
It is. Horrible.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's move on to the legal stuff.
Okay.
What did they charge him with?
So a lot of serious charges.
Yeah.
Robbery, murder, forcible indecency resulting in death for the women.
Yeah.
Robbery, murder for the boyfriend. And then corpse mutilation and abandonment.
Wow. And at the trial, what was his defense? How did he explain what he did?
He admitted to the basic facts. Right.
Yeah.
But his lawyers argued for what they called consent murder.
Consent murder.
Yeah, basically that the victims wanted to die and had given their consent.
Oh, my God.
The prosecution obviously fought back hard, saying there was no real consent and that he was fully responsible.
That's a crazy defense.
Yeah, very controversial.
Yeah. Did they ever look into his mental state?
They did. He had a psych evaluation.
Yeah.
And the expert said he was mentally competent, knew what he was doing at the time.
So what was the verdict?
The court gave him the death penalty.
Wow.
On December 15th, 2020.
And that was it? No appeals?
His lawyer appealed it first,
Yeah.
but then he actually withdrew it.
Really?
So the death sentence was finalized on January 5th, 2021.
Wow. And just so you know, in Japan, the death penalty isn't carried out right away.
Right.
There's usually a long wait. Okay, so a case this horrific, it must have had a huge impact.
It did.
Not just in Japan, but around the world, right?
Yeah, it was all over the news, not just in Japan, but also in South Korea, the U.S., the U.K., places like that.
Yeah.
And the international media really focused on how shocking this was, happening in a country known for being so safe.
Right. And how did Japan respond as a country?
Well, they definitely talked about it.
Yeah.
The government, even the prime minister's office, they discussed ways to prevent this kind of thing from happening again.
Yeah.
And they focused a lot on social media,
Yeah.
how to regulate it better and how to support young people online who are struggling with mental health issues. And because of this case and others like it, Twitter actually changed its rules
Oh,
to ban content promoting suicide and self-harm.
wow. So it had a real impact there.
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the source mentions that Japan already had a suicide prevention program in place, right?
Yeah, it's called the Comprehensive Suicide Prevention Outline. And after this case, they really started focusing on using ICT, that's information and communication
Oh,
technology,
right.
all the digital stuff we use
Yeah.
to try to reach and help people online who are vulnerable.
Wow, this is all so heavy.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It brings up so many questions about, online safety, mental health, violence, all these things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what would you say are the biggest takeaways here?
I think it's a harsh reminder about how dangerous online interactions can be,
Yeah.
especially if you're vulnerable, struggling with suicidal thoughts.
Right.
And it shows how devastating violence can be,
Yeah.
not just for the victims, but for society as a whole.
Yeah, and for those of you listening who are just learning about Japan,
Yeah.
this case, even though it's awful, touches on some really important things about the country.
Yeah.
The legal system, how technology and social issues are connected, and the struggles with mental health support.
Yeah, it really forces us to look at the dark side of the digital age, and think about things like, what does online anonymity really mean? How can social media companies protect vulnerable people?
Yeah.
How are different countries handling these same issues? I mean, it's a lot to think about, right?
It really is. It really is.
How technology and mental health and criminal behavior all come together.
It's a lot, and it's happening all over the world, so
Yeah,
definitely something to keep in mind.
absolutely.
All right, well, that was a tough one.
Heavy stuff.
Yeah, but I hope this deep dive was, helpful for you all.
Yeah, definitely informative.
Yeah, definitely something to think about.
Lots to unpack there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for listening,
Thanks for having me.
and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.